The rain-slicked streets of Seattle gleamed like shattered glass under the sodium lamps, but nothing cut deeper than the judge's gavel echoing in the marble hallway of King County Courthouse. By the laws of the Pacific Northwest Pac Alliance, Elias Hawthorne, you are hereby bound in matrimony to Jamie Ellis, effective immediately. My fists clenched at my sides, the weight of that forced vow heavier than the gold band they shoved onto my finger, while Jamie's wide green eyes locked onto mine, pleading for a miracle I couldn't give. I turned away before his hope could fracture me further. The scent of his omega warmth, fresh pine and unspoken longing, clinging to my alpha senses like a curse. 12 years I'd raised him. From the scrawny 10-year-old orphan dropped at my doorstep after his parents' car wreck on I-5, to this man now, 22 and blooming with heats that the pack elders deemed my duty to claim. But duty tasted like betrayal, because loving him like family had armored my heart against anything more, and now the Alliance's archaic bonding rites were ripping that armor away, thread by thread. Congratulations, brother. My sister Lena whispered from the back of the courtroom, her voice laced with pity as the small crowd, pack elders in tweed suits, a few distant cousins shuffling in wingtips, dispersed into the drizzling Pacific Northwest afternoon. She squeezed my arm, her beta calm a stark contrast to the storm raging in my chest. He's family now. Officially, family. The word burned. Jamie hovered at the edge of the aisle, his slim frame swallowed by an ill-fitting navy suit that hung off shoulders I'd taught to stand straight through little league losses and high school heartbreaks. He was the kid who'd crashed on my couch during his first heat at 16. Me pacing the hallway all night with ice packs and chamomile tea, swearing I'd never let the world touch him like that. Now, the world, our world, had decreed otherwise. The Alliance's fertility crisis had packs scrambling, alphas paired with omegas like livestock at auction, bloodlines preserved at any cost. And because I'd been idiot enough to register as his guardian all those years ago, the elders saw it as a tidy knot, the reluctant bachelor farmer tying the knot with the orphan he'd half-raised. I strode past him without a word, my boots thudding against the polished floor, the courthouse doors swinging open to a wind that whipped my dark hair across my forehead. Jamie's soft footsteps trailed me, hesitant as a shadow, but I didn't look back. Not then. Not when the cab pulled up to Hawthorne Farm on the outskirts of Kent, where the evergreens loomed like silent judges over our clabbered Victorian, its wraparound porch sagging from too many winters. The farm, 50 acres of lavender fields and apple orchards that had been in my family since the gold rush days, was supposed to be my sanctuary, not a cage for this farce. Elias! His voice cracked on the gravel drive, rain beating on his lashes like unshed accusations. I paused at the porch steps, key in hand, the brass cold against my palm. He was close now, close enough that his scent wrapped around me again. Stirring something primal I shoved down with the force of a slammed door. Please, talk to me. What is there to say? Jamie? I unlocked the door, the hinges creaking like a sigh. Inside, the foyer smelled of aged wood and the faint lavender sachets Lena insisted on, reminders of normalcy in a life unraveling. This wasn't my choice. It wasn't yours. But the Alliance doesn't care about that. They get their numbers. We get the scraps. He followed me in, dripping water onto the Persian rug my mother had knotted by hand before cancer took her. I could feel his gaze tracing the rigid line of my shoulders, the way my jaw set like it did when bartering at the Pike Place market stalls. Jamie had always been observant like that, picking up on the flickers I tried to hide, the extra helping of pie at Thanksgiving, the late-night drives to clear my head after a bad harvest. But this marriage certificate burning a hole in my coat pocket, it was a line we'd never crossed, and crossing it felt like erasing the boy I knew. I know it's not fair, he murmured, shrugging off his jacket, revealing the white shirt clinging to his chest from the rain. He looked so damn young still, with that mop of chestnut curls and the faint freckles across his nose from summers weeding the lavender rose together. But maybe we can make it work. Like we always have. I barked a laugh, bitter as black coffee, hanging my coat on the antique rack. Make it work? Jamie, you're the little brother I never had. The kid who tagged along to Mariners games, who cried when we lost the state fair ribbon for best apples. This, I gestured vaguely between us, the air thick with unspoken heat cycles and bonding scents. This is poison. I'm doing you a favor by keeping my distance. His face crumpled, just for a second, before he schooled it into that quiet resolve I'd seen him forge in foster homes before I pulled strings to bring him here. I'm not a kid anymore, Elias. And you're not just some guardian alpha playing house. You've been my everything. If this is poison, then why does it feel like the only safe harbor I've ever known? I couldn't answer that. Not without admitting the cracks already forming in my resolve. The way his voice tugged at the alpha instincts I'd buried under layers of flannel and farm calls. Instead, I muttered something about needing space and retreated to my study, the door clicking shut like a full stop. Upstairs, I heard him moving to the guest room, his old room. Really, the one with the baseball posters peeling at the edges and the window overlooking the orchard where we'd built forts from hay bales. The house settled around us, creaking under the weight of what we'd become, husband and husband, stranger and kin, all in the span of one gray afternoon. That night, sleep evaded me like a fox in the underbrush. The farm's quiet was absolute, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl and the patter of rain on the tin roof. My mind replayed the ceremony. The elders' droning invocation, the incense thick with sage and cedar to mask the rising pheromones. Jamie's hand trembling in mine as we exchanged vows neither believed. In sickness and in heat, the officiant had intoned, and I'd nearly bolted right there. Heats, the Omega's curse and gift, drawing alphas like moths to flame, and now mine to manage or ignore, at the risk of pack sanctions. By dawn, the sky had cleared to a watery blue, the kind that promised renewal but delivered mud. I was knee-deep in the lavender fields by 7, shears snipping stems with mechanical precision, the earthy tang grounding me. The farm was my anchor, passed down from my grandfather, who'd fled the Dust Bowl for this rainy corner of Washington, turning soil into solace. It was why I'd stayed single, pouring everything into the soil instead of some fleeting bond. Jamie had been part of that, unwittingly. His laughter echoing during harvest, his hands blistered from helping with the cider press. But now, every bloom mocked me, petals soft as his skin. He found me there, mid-row, a thermos of coffee in one hand and a plate of pancakes in the other, blueberry, my favorite, flecked with the wild ones we'd picked last summer. Figured you'd need fuel, he said, setting the plate on an overturned crate, his smile tentative as a first frost. He wore jeans and one of my old hoodies, sleeves rolled up, the fabric dwarfing him in a way that twisted something low in my gut. I straightened, wiping sweat from my brow, the alpha in me noting the way the morning light gilded his curls. You don't have to do this, you know. Play the dutiful spouse. The alliance won't check if you're folding my laundry or baking like it's 1950. Jamie's eyes dropped to the ground, toes scuffing the dirt. It's not about them. It's about us. Or what used to be us. He hesitated, then met my gaze, steady despite the vulnerability flickering there. Remember the night after my parents' funeral? You drove me up to Mount Rainier, sat with me on that log until the stars came out. You said, family isn't blood, Jamie. It's the ones who stay. Well, I'm staying. Even if it hurts. The words landed like a punch, stirring memories I'd locked away. the drive back from the service, his small body racked with sobs in the passenger seat of my beat-up Ford, the way I'd pulled over on a pullout to hold him until the grief ebbed. That night had forged us. Alpha and Omega be damned. Just two broken souls patching each other with duct tape and determination. But now, with the bonding mark itching faintly on my neck, a ceremonial tattoo, not the full claim, the lines blurred into something dangerous. I took the coffee, the steam curling between us like a barrier. That was then. This is complicated. I sipped, the bitterness mirroring my mood. The pack's watching. One whiff of us not consummating properly, and they could strip the farm. Inheritance laws tied to fertility quotas. It's all bullshit. But it's our bullshit. He nodded, picking a lavender sprig and twirling it between fingers that trembled just slightly. Then let's fake it. For the farm. For whatever this is. His voice softened on the last part, eyes searching mine for a crack in the ice. Faking it. The idea coiled in my chest, equal parts relief and revulsion. We could stage the sense. The public appearances at pack gatherings in Tacoma, maybe even a heat-suppressant routine to keep things platonic. But as he stood there, the hoodie slipping off one shoulder to reveal the curve of his collarbone, I wondered if the real danger was in pretending too well or not well enough. The days blurred into a tense routine. The farm's rhythm our only constant. Mornings, I'd find notes on the kitchen table. Apples ripening fast. Check row 7? Scribbled in his looping script. Or a fresh pot of stew simmering when I dragged in from the fields. Mud caked to my boots. Jamie threw himself into the work. His Omega energy a quiet force. Tending the greenhouse with a gentleness that coaxed even the wilting herbs back to life. Charming the market vendors at the weekend farmer's stand with stories of our newlywed adventures. The pack bought it. Mostly. Lena shot me knowing glances over her chai lattes, but said nothing. Nights were harder. The house, once a haven of separate spaces, felt charged. Every creak a reminder of proximity. I'd hear him through the walls. Pages turning in that dog-eared copy of The Great Gatsby I'd lent him years ago, or the soft hum of folk tunes from his phone. Bon Iver's falsetto weaving through the plaster. Once, I caught myself lingering outside his door, hand raised to knock, the Alpha Drive urging me to check on him like old times. But I walked away, every time, building walls higher with each step. It was the betrayal that cracked them first. Not mine, but the pack's. 2 weeks in, a letter arrived via courier. The alliance seal embossed in gold foil. Confirmation of bonding required. Submit heat logs and scent samples by month's end, or forfeit Hawthorne lands to communal redistribution. My blood boiled as I crumpled it in the study, the antique desk lamp casting long shadows like accusatory fingers. They'd forced this union, then demanded proof like we were lab rats in some eugenics experiment. The Pacific Northwest packs had always teetered on the edge of tradition and tyranny. Alphas like me caught in the crossfire of declining birth rates and old-world fears. I stormed out to the barn, where Jamie was mucking stalls, his shirt sleeves pushed up, hay dust motes dancing in the slanted light. "They're animals," I growled, thrusting the letter at him. "All of it, the marriage, the monitoring. I raised you to be free, not some broodmare on a leash." He read it silently, color draining from his face, then folded it with deliberate care. "It's not just them, Elias. It's the law now. Our law." He set the paper aside, leaning against a post, the scent of horse and earth mingling with his own. Sharper today, edged with the faint prelude to his cycle. Omegas felt it building, that tidal pull, and I cursed my senses for picking it up. "Then we fight it." The words tumbled out before I could stop them, alpha protectiveness surging like a rogue wave. "Lawyers, appeals, hell, I'll sell the tractor if I have to. You deserve better than this cage. Jamie's laugh was soft, sad, echoing in the rafters. And what about you? The farm's your blood. You think I don't see how you look at it? The way you walk these rows like they're veins in your own body. He stepped closer, close enough that I could see the pulse fluttering at his throat. I've never asked for more than what you've given. But if fighting means losing you, I'd rather submit the damn samples. The air thickened, his proximity a spark to dry tinder. I backed up a step, with grain biting into my spine. Don't say that. You're not. Not what? Yours. His voice broke, green eyes glistening with the tears he so rarely shed. I am, though, in every way that matters. And it kills me that you can't see it. He turned then, grabbing the pitchfork with a ferocity that belied his frame, resuming his work as if the words hadn't just detonated between us. I left him there, the barn door slamming behind me, my heart pounding with a confusion I couldn't name. That night, sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with images of Jamie as a boy, then as the man he'd become, overlapping like exposures on film, blurring boundaries I no longer trusted. The heat hit him like a freight train 3 days later, right as the first real autumn chill nipped the air. I was in the orchard, ladder propped against a Granny Smith tree, when his scent slammed into me, overripe berries and desperate need, carried on the wind from the house. Alphas miles away would catch it, but here, on our land, it was a siren's call meant for me alone. Panic clawed my throat as I dropped the basket, apples rolling into the grass like spilled secrets. The suppressants we'd started, bitter pills smuggled from a Vancouver clinic, should have held, but his body rebelled, cycles amplified by the bonding rites proximity. I sprinted back, boots churning mud, bursting through the kitchen door to find him curled on the floor by the sink, forehead pressed to cool tile, breaths coming in shallow gasps. Jamie, God, hold on. I dropped to my knees, hands hovering, afraid to touch. His skin was fever hot, cheeks flushed, curls matted with sweat. The omega haze clouded his eyes, pupils blown wide, but beneath it, shame flickered raw and human. Elias. It hurts, he whispered, voice wrecked, fingers twisting in his shirt. Make it stop. Please. I scooped him up without thinking, his weight light as thistledown against my chest, carrying him to the guest room like I'd done 100 times before. But this time, the air hummed with possibility, his scent wrapping around me like velvet chains, urging the alpha forward. I laid him on the bed, sheets already twisted from his earlier attempts to cool down, and fetched the ice packs from the freezer, the ritual as familiar as breathing. As I pressed one to his neck, he arched into the touch, a whimper escaping that shot straight to my core. Stay, he murmured, hand catching my wrist, grip surprisingly firm. Just stay with me. I should have left, bolted to the barn, the truck, anywhere but here, where the line between guardian and husband frayed like old rope. But his eyes, those damn green eyes, pleading and pained, held me captive. I'm here, I said, sinking onto the edge of the mattress, my voice rough as gravel. Always have been. The hours stretched, a vigil of damp cloths and murmured reassurances, his body warring with itself while I fought the pull of mine. He drifted in and out, fever dreams spilling fragments. Don't leave me like they did. Elias, promise. Each one chipped at the ice I'd built, revealing the man beneath, the one who'd bandaged my knuckles after bar fights with pack rivals, who'd danced with me at Lena's wedding to that beta accountant, awkward and laughing under string lights. By midnight, the worst crested, leaving him limp and lucid, tears tracking silent paths down his temples. I brushed them away with my thumb, the gesture intimate, uncharted. "Why do you cry like that?" I asked, voice low in the lamplight. "Quiet, like you're afraid to be heard." "Because if I let it out," he replied, turning his face into my palm, "you'll hear how much I need you, and you'll run." The confession hung there, heavy as fog rolling off Puget Sound. I didn't run. Instead, I stayed, our hands linked across the quilt my grandmother stitched, the room filling with the soft cadence of his breathing sinking to mine. Dawn crept in, painting the walls gold, and for the first time since the gavel fell, the house felt less like a prison and more like a threshold. But peace was fleeting. The next morning, as Jamie slept off the exhaustion, my phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, my old PAC contact, the one who'd tipped me off about the Alliance's incentives for compliant bonds. "Heads up, Hawthorne. Elders coming for inspection tomorrow. Bring your A game. And hey, congrats on the tie-down. Knew you'd cave." Cave. The word ignited fury, old suspicions flaring. Marcus had been the one pushing the marriage in council meetings, his beta ambition masked as concern for PAC stability. I trusted him, shared beers at the local dive after long days, venting about the farm's debts. Now, it reeked of setup, him angling for my land if the bonding failed, the Alliance's perfect pawn. I pocketed the phone, glancing at Jamie's sleeping form, the sheet rising and falling in innocent rhythm. Betrayal soured my gut, but so did the fear. If Marcus was playing us, the inspection could unravel everything. I had to tell him, draw him into the fight, not as the kid I protected, but as the partner fate had forged. Waking him gently, I sat on the bed's edge, the words tumbling out, the text, the suspicions, the web of politics that had ensnared us. Jamie listened, eyes sharpening from post-heat haze to steel, his omega resilience shining through. "Then we don't cave," he said, sitting up, determination etching lines on his young face. "We expose him. You and me, against them all." It was the first time he'd said "we" without hesitation, and it sealed something in me, a shift from duty to alliance. We spent the day plotting in hushed tones over coffee and maps of the PAC's holdings. Jamie's insights sharp as a harvest knife, connections from his foster days, whispers of Marcus's shady deals with Vancouver smugglers. Laughter crept in, too, tentative at first, then full-throated when he mimicked the elder's pompous drawl. For hours, the world narrowed to us, the farm's heartbeat underscoring our rebellion. But as dusk fell, painting the orchard in bruised purples, doubt crept back. The bonding rite had linked us scent-wise, a faint undercurrent now thrumming between us. His pine mingling with my cedar, subtle but insistent. When our hands brushed over the kitchen table, sparks jumped, and I pulled away, heart hammering. "This changes things," I admitted, staring at the scarred oak surface. "If we pull this off, the Alliance might expect more." Jamie reached across, covering my hand with his, warm and steady. "Let them expect. What matters is what we choose." His thumb traced my knuckles, a question in the touch, and for a heartbeat, I leaned in, the air electric with possibility. The knock came at twilight, the elder's sleek black SUV crunching gravel like bones underfoot. Harlan Voss, 60-something with a salt and pepper beard and eyes like smoked quartz, stepped out in a cashmere overcoat that screamed old money. Flanking him, Marcus, all false smiles and pressed khakis, plus 2 beta enforcers with clipboards and sniffers, devices to sample our scents for compatibility metrics. "Mr. Hawthorne," Voss boomed, shaking my hand with a grip like iron, his alpha presence a deliberate flex. Or should I say, newlywed? We've high hopes for this union. Fertility rates are dire. Your lines could bolster the pack immensely. I forced a nod, ushering them into the parlor, where Jamie waited by the hearth, composed in a crisp button-down, though I caught the faint tremor in his fingers. Elder Voss, to what do we owe the pleasure? Routine verification, Marcus chimed in, too eager, clapping me on the back. Just ensuring all's shipshape. Bonding sense integrating? Heats managed. Jamie met my gaze across the room, a silent signal, and I launched into the prepared script. Logs fabricated on the kitchen printer. Scents amplified with essential oils we dabbed that morning. Voss leaned back in the wingback chair, sniffing discreetly at the air, while the enforcers waved their devices, beeps affirming the ruse. But Marcus's eyes narrowed, darting to the side table where I'd casually left a folder of old pack correspondence, pulled from my files that afternoon. Tucked inside, a memo from 2 years back, Marcus's signature authorizing incentive reallocations that funneled farm subsidies to his cronies. Voss's brow furrowed as he flipped through, the room's temperature dropping 10 degrees. What's this? The elder murmured, voice like grinding stone. Marcus blanched, stammering, misfiled paperwork. Sir, nothing to. Collusion, Jamie cut in, voice steady, stepping forward with the grace of someone who'd faced worse than pack politics. Marcus has been skimming alliance funds, using forced bonds like ours to cover tracks. We have emails, witnesses from the Tacoma chapter. The enforcers exchanged glances, sniffers forgotten, as Voss's face darkened to thunder. Is this true? Hail? Marcus bolted for the door, but the betas were faster, pinning him with efficient brutality. Chaos erupted, shouts, scuffles, the SUV's engine roaring to life outside as Voss radioed for backup. In the melee, Jamie pressed against my side, his hand finding mine, and I pulled him close, shielding him instinctively as fists flew. It ended with Marcus in cuffs, dragged into the night, his betrayal laid bare under the porch light. Voss turned to us, expression softening fractionally. You've done the pack a service, boys. The inspection waved. For now. He paused at the threshold, glancing between us. And the bond? Make it real, if you can. Not for us, for you. The door shut, leaving silence in its wake, broken only by the tick of the grandfather clock. Jamie sagged against me, exhaling shakily. We did it. Yeah, I murmured, arms wrapping around him fully for the first time, his warmth seeping through the barriers I'd clung to. We did. In the days that followed, the farm seemed to exhale with us. Word spread through the pack grapevine. Texts from Lena. Knew you had it in you. Drinks soon. Calls from cousins offering aid with the next harvest. The Alliance issued a quiet retraction on the logs, Voss's influence smoothing the edges. But the real shift was internal. Walls crumbling, not with a crash, but a slow, inevitable melt. Jamie and I fell into a new rhythm, tentative explorations over shared chores and stolen moments. One evening, as we walked the orchard paths, leaves crunching underfoot, he stopped beneath the oldest apple tree, the one we'd planted on his 18th birthday, sapling trembling in the wind. Elias, he said, turning to me, moonlight silvering his features. I don't want to fake anymore. Not with you. The words unlocked something profound, a vulnerability I'd armored against since my own losses. Parents gone too soon, the farm's near foreclosure in '08. I cupped his face, thumbs tracing the path of those quiet tears I'd come to crave, not as pity, but as proof of his trust. Then don't. Be real with me, Jamie. Let me be real with you. Our kiss was inevitable, soft as falling snow, tasting of cider and unspoken years. No rush, no heat-driven frenzy. Just two men choosing each other under the weight of stars, the Pacific Northwest sky vast and forgiving above. Months later, as winter blanketed the fields in frost, we stood on the porch watching the first snow dust the lavender stubs. The farm thrived, Pax reformed under new scrutiny, and Marcus's trial loomed like a cautionary tale. But here, in the quiet, it was just us, husband and husband, guardian and charge no more, but equals in a love-hard one. Jamie leaned into my side, breath fogging the air. Think we'll make it? I kissed his temple, the bond now a gentle hum rather than a chain. We already have, and in that humanistic truth, the messy, resilient beauty of choosing forgiveness over flight, kin over convenience, we found our ever after, not perfect, but profoundly ours.